Namaskar, welcome to Sansad TV. This is your host Manish Kumar. Today we have very special edition in our foreign affairs and we are focusing on India-Poland relations, and we have very special guest to talk about India-Poland relation today, tech, trade and security. Let me tell you, one of the most significant historical connection with the Poland is in India is support for the Polish refugee during World War II. When over 5,000 Polish citizens, mostly women and children, were not only given refuge but a grand welcome in the town of Valivade in Maharashtra by then Maharaja, a called Good Maharaja is often. He sheltered 1,000 orphaned Polish children, and that is a history. What a remarkable history and connection with Poland, and that is also the principal core values of how India looks at the world. Its openness and the quest for embracing the essence of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in its foreign policies. To talk about that, we have very distinguished guest today, Mr. Sebastian Domżalski, the Chargé affair, the acting ambassador of Poland in India, and he's talking about the key and crucial topic of India-Poland relation today. We are focusing on trade, tech and security. Welcome to you, Ambassador, and let's begin asking you, India and Poland have a long-standing friendly relationship. I talked about our historical connections, the Maharaja connection, the cultural connection which goes back to the Second World War. And also during the Prime Minister Modi visit to Warsaw, he talked about strategic partnership which is also elevated from the bilateral partnership. Could you give us an overview? How do you look at India-Polish relationship at the moment now, at this historical juncture, being a very key partner in the European Union? To Ambassador, to begin with.
Good evening, namaste, dobry wieczór, as we say it in Polish.
Namaste.
Mr. Jha, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and it's a pleasure to talk about Indo-Polish relations. Yes, in fact, this year is a special year in our bilateral relations. As both countries, we celebrate the 70th anniversary of establishment of our diplomatic relations. Of course, our contacts are way longer. And this year is also very special, as you rightly pointed out. Prime Minister Modi visited Poland. It was the first visit of Indian Prime Minister to our country since 1979. So, 45 years, first visit in 45 years of Indian Prime Minister to Poland. We are opening a new chapter, Nayi Shuruat, as you say right nicely in Hindi. New beginning, and as you also mentioned, during the visit of Prime Minister Modi, we elevated our relationship to the strategic level, which symbolizes willingness of both countries to work together more closely on bilateral issues, but also on global and regional affairs.
Ambassador, one of the important thing which I also studied out of your biography about that you have studied India very well. It's a democratic process and robust reform, which also Poland has gone through. Could you brief us, for all the audience, what sort of democratic reforms Poland has gone through, making a very open, market-friendly, democratic nations? Briefly, if you could talk about for audience to understand where does Poland stand in the European Union in terms of democracy, principle, and values.
Yes, in fact, I've been coming to India since 2001, so I think 23 years since my first visit to this beautiful place. I was stationed here 10 years ago. I spent amazing 5 years in Delhi. My 2 daughters were born in this country, so I tend to joke that I have 2 blonde Indian daughters. But of course, as you mentioned, there's a lot of similarities between Poland and India, and when you look at from the political perspective and economic perspective, we've both countries underwent tremendous changes over the last almost 40 years, 35 years. Almost the same time as India started its reforms, we also started opening up. We were formerly a socialist country, but we became a capitalist economy, started opening our markets, and you talk a lot about Amrut Kal in India. This is actually a golden age for Poland, what we are witnessing. When you look at our GDP, it has grown 10 times over the last 30 years. 10 times. 10 times bigger. It's also reflected in our aspirations, and it's also grasped and seen here from India. As you mentioned, we are becoming more and more important part of the European Union. For the last 20 years, we benefited immensely from our membership in the group, and to tell you more, from next January, we will be assuming presidency of the European Union also. So 6 months we will be chairing different meetings, and we hope also to support European Union and EU delegation here in fostering EU-India relations.
And Ambassador Sebastian, I also touch upon now the key elements of our bilateral relation. I also understand, as our Prime Minister also highlighted, and it also underscores how our bilateral trade has gone up, which is a very significant jump, reaches very close to 5.72 billion euro in terms of overall bilateral trade. We also understand that during the Prime Minister visit to Warsaw, Poland, we agreed on a lot of mutual goals, and we set up a 5 years plan. What is all about this 5 years plan? How do you see these plans unfolding? What will it unfold and get into our bilateral relation, trade and investment in terms of, particularly if I focus on?
So yes, we cite an action plan. This is an action plan that aim is to operationalize our strategic partnership, and we look at different areas of our relations: political, economic, cultural, and we identified different sectors and areas in this political, economic and cultural spheres, and education also, and different projects that we are undertaking in order to foster our relations. In political relations, we of course want to, in political sphere, we want to have more exchanges, and Prime Minister Modi's visit started a number of visits. We will be having more visits. Polish dignitaries, Polish politicians and Polish civil servants to India. It is happening even next week. We want to also have more parliamentary contacts, as we are here in this beautiful venue. Parliamentary contacts are very important, and hope to have more delegations from Poland to India. We are also wanting to invite more Indian parliamentarians to Poland. We want to build trust, and for mutual understanding, we would like to have more visits. In economic domain, of course, trade is one aspect. It's growing. The last year was a record one, but potential is much bigger. We are exporting, we are importing, but what is important, and I can tell you, I've looked for economic, I was responsible for promoting economic relations between our countries for 4 years and 10 years ago, and I see a lot of change here, a lot of potential that is there, a lot of pragati, a lot of vikas that has happened in India. There's growing interest in Poland in coming to India and making in India. As more and more Polish companies based here produce, and that are based here, and they want to produce, and these are different sectors and different regions. India is a really big country, so there's a lot of scope.
And Ambassador, despite significant growth in the bilateral trade, it's, as you said, it remains short of achieving our full potential, very short of even not 6 billion bilateral trade which we have. Where do you see the action plan taking our overall bilateral trade figure reaching? Do you have certain targets to talk about? How do you work to achieve such goal?
In case of trade, the general goal is to look at technology and high tech, so takaniki. This is what we are looking at, and we have different sectors that we identified. So there are green and environment-friendly technologies. We have mining and mining equipment. How can we mining more effectively and more eco-friendly? We have a great experience and expertise in Poland. We are one of the biggest EU producers of coal and also mining machinery. One of the areas. There's automotive industry that is based in Poland, and then companies are here producing components and parts, cooperating closely with other EU companies, European companies that are present here, and also with Indian counterparts. We have pharma and medical products, and here, of course, Indian companies are they have their advantages and they're exporting to Poland. We have, COVID made us realize that we cannot rely on sourcing from one certain country. We need to diversify, and here India has something to offer. Already Polish companies are present in the Indian market, producing here and selling not only to India but also exporting from India. Not only to Poland but to the region. So you see that the Indian strategy of making India works, and we are very happy with that, and we would like to do more. For that, of course, we are working with the Indian government and Polish companies and business sector.
And Ambassador, as you also highlighted, and which I also understand, Poland have fairly good foundation on some of the industry which I talked about. Green technologies, and also the healthcare system is very robust in Poland, and you specifically talk about pharmaceuticals and mining industry. So these are the core industry which will focus under the 5-year action plan, and you think this will really benefit in terms of taking our bilateral trade to the next level. And you suggest some of the mechanisms of doing that. Is it through the collaboration, investment within the country? How these will unfold? If you could just be more specific on this.
I think here what we have to do is have more business interactions, because many people still are not aware of potential that is there in Poland, in Central Europe. And also in Poland there is a lot of there's lack of knowledge about amazing journey that India has undergone, or in last couple of years. So we are working hard and promoting Poland and India and in the Polish relations, and one of the ways we are doing it is through interviews, but of course business contacts. We are trying to organize seminars. We want to bring business delegations here, and we have really high hopes for next year, intensive plans. So we will be really busy here, and I hope that I can visit you once more sometime next year and praise you about the real progress that we've achieved.
And Ambassador, very interestingly, one of the aspects which we have earlier talked about, we already have some robust mechanism already running between India and Poland. I just quote, we have 6 state-to-state cooperation agreements between India and Poland, including, if I begin with West Bengal and Slasik region, if I pronounce correctly, again the state of Gujarat in India, and Mazovia region, and another region in Poland with Karnataka, which I'm talking about. How important are these corporations and MOUs, and how are they unfolding in terms of overall trade, if we talk about, and pushing the boundary between the Poland and Poland?
Regions and states, they play a very important role in fostering our cooperation, because in the local level there is more understanding about local industry. At least this is our experience from Poland, and we have tried to work with our local authorities in order to make them understand about India and bring them here. So that both civil servants, local politicians, that they could bring business delegations and promote what they have best to offer. As you rightly pointed out, there is a number of MOUs, different governments, local governments between local governments from Poland and India, and we just had, early this year, we had a delegation, local government delegation for Vibrant Gujarat Summit. And through these different state initiatives, we are trying to bring more businesses and more local authorities. We will be participating next month, December. There is a Rising Rajasthan Business Summit happening in Jaipur. We also hope to bring a local delegation from from different levels, but also from one of the cities in Poland. And India is a big country. It's a tree. Everyone knows that. But in order to understand India better, you should be active on a state level. And West Bengal and Silesia, as you mentioned, this is a proof of how effective this kind of cooperation can be, because these are two regions that are very strong in mining and mining equipment and machinery and mining technologies and energy production. And on the local level, we are working with companies, connecting them and supporting through local authorities and governments that have exchange.
So here also looking for the opportunity investors from India to come and collaborate and invest in Poland in these specific areas.
I mean, the other part of the story is that we are actually also wanting to attract more Indian investors to Poland. This doesn't happen on a local level. Sometimes it happens on a local level, like in case of Łódź. We have an investor in Łódź from Rajasthan, and he is promoting Łódź and local Łódzkie Województwo and Rajasthan cooperation. But here we also wanting to have more Indian businesses. Over the last couple of years, what has happened, Indian companies became more global. If you look at the history of Polish-Indian relations, you will see that Indian investors started investing in Poland 15-20 years ago. So this is not a new phenomenon. You will have BPOs, biggest Indian companies like Infosys, Wipro, TCS, now LT also in IT. They are all investing in Poland, and they're really happy with what we offer, because they have access to European Union. They have educated workforce, and there's no time difference, so they are closer to their clients.
And so does the Poland is our largest trade partner in the Central Europe, perhaps, as
yes,
the data
yes,
speaks about that.
Yes.
Ambassador, I would like to broaden the range of discussion, and as you also highlighted, there's a momentum in our relationship. We have elevated our relationship to the strategic level, and one of the key elements of our strategic partnership is also our security and defense cooperation. I also understand Poland has a historical and legacy military industrial base in the past. And also, Poland now is the highest spender in defense within the NATO and is embarking on the military and tech modernization. What are the potential of partnership you see with India in terms of defense military cooperation? I also understand there's also upsurge in the strategic military to military exercises. Could you sum up these aspects of our bilateral relation?
Okay, this is a chapter of our relations that we might call it Raksha and Suraksha. Yes,
Raksha and Suraksha.
Yes, nice. And it's very important and becoming extremely important, because the world is becoming more and more volatile. And when you look at Central Europe, you will see that Central and Eastern Europe, that there is war happening on our borders. We border both Russia and Ukraine, and Russian unlawful aggression against Ukraine costs a lot of turmoil also to us. And we realized that defense is becoming, and security and safety is a key if you want to talk about development. So we gradually started increasing our spending, defense spending. As you mentioned, of course, we are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, NATO defense spenders, but in terms of percentage budget, the defense budget spendings. And so we are looking at different opportunities for collaboration with different partners. India is also spending a lot on defense, and it's also trying to develop its industrial base. And one way to look at that is history. In terms of both of our countries, the equipment that we use is based on some Soviet technologies. So we have some expertise in Poland in servicing this equipment, and here we are ready to discuss and work with India. But while we look at the past, we are also, we shouldn't forget about the future. And here we want to move forward, and we want to develop new technologies. Yes, and again here there are joint ventures between. One prominent example of joint venture in drone industries that Indo-Polish company that is present here and delivering drones to the Indian army. But we just had a seminar, online seminar between Polish and Indian businesses, and both of them, I mean, there's a lot of discussions happening. There's delegations, some delegation plans to visit Poland. We are hoping to be part of Bangalore Air Show
right.
next year, and we also want to have a joint revived working group between Poland and India. That was there, but for last couple of years, this was the dormant mechanism. So during the Prime Minister's Modi visit, one of the outcomes of Prime Minister's visit to Poland was the decision to revive this mechanism. Also, joint working group on economic cooperation will be revived. So hopefully, early next year, first quarter, they can meet. They both Indian and Polish Ministry of Defense officials can meet and discuss what can we do here together. So there's on two levels, business to business and government to government.
Ambassador Sebastian, fantastic upgrades, which you have given, especially on the drone collaboration and the way the warfare is changing and evolving, as we see in the Russia-Ukraine crisis and elsewhere. Also, the new technology, especially the drone, the unmanned system, the game changer. So it's great to see such cooperation unfolding. But I would like to inform, I put forth more information regarding Poland has already closed cooperation in crucial areas like armored recovery vehicle, which is jointly done and made by Poland BUMAR and India's BEML, a defense public sector undertaking, and both of which played a key role in supporting our legacy Russian era T-72 main battle tank. You already talked about the drone collaboration. I again like to specifically focus and ask you if you wanted to broaden the scope of military industrial collaboration where we can collaborate. Are you also expecting or looking for, India also has a robust defense foundation, military foundation, industrial foundation. What would you like to achieve in this regard?
Here actually we would like to start producing in India, because in order to be successful on the Indian market you have to be present here and you need to produce here. If you want to do it on a bigger scale you have to do it here. So I hope that next year's joint working group will enable us in discussions with some private partners here also on the potential in this regard. And one more thing that has also changed, was not the case before, but we are also eager to buy from India. So not only to sell and produce here, but we are also eager to work jointly on new projects and also buy defense equipment here. So here I don't want to go into details because the discussions are ongoing, but hopefully next year we could announce some contracts in this sphere also.
Okay. Ambassador, I'll back to again, would like to understand more on the Poland and its foreign policies towards the global geopolitical situation. And one of the things which I keen to understand, Poland will assume the chair of EU Council in January 2025. It's very important assignment. It's a great assignment which Poland will take over. In light of that, how do you think the India and EU, the possible FTA will speed up, which is off and on, looks like stalled and then move ahead again, stall. So the cycle is never ending, Ambassador. How do you think you can be, you can change the game and contribute towards strengthening India-Poland relation and also the India-EU FTA trade going forward?
I mean, FTA is a lambi kahani, yes? So a long story. As I also remember the negotiations were ongoing and they stopped negotiating in 2013. Now, 2 years ago, both EU and India decided to restart negotiations. It was a powerful signal to start working on it again. World has changed, and we see India is already EU is already India's biggest trading partner with 123 billion in trade last year. Right. So there is a lot there, but potential is even bigger. And we see that market access issues, FTA issues are key to discussing it. And in fact, we had 9 rounds of negotiations. Hopefully, now with the new with the elections in India, spring elections, a new mandate for Prime Minister Modi and his government, the government, and also new commission in Europe, we will enter a new phase in 2025, and from January onwards, Polish presidency, a key moment, hopefully, in restarting, not restarting, pushing giving a new energy, new shakti to new push on negotiations. So we hope that we would be able to support it. We are looking forward to having EU-India summit. This is something that been working closely, I mean, as a EU and India, to have a EU-India summit. And as we understand, we need more strong political push for this and willingness to move forward.
And Ambassador, quickly also to understand more about it's another historic moment for Poland. We'll be chairing the connectivity project of 14 countries in Central and Eastern Europe, which is called CEE group, from Greece in the south to Baltic in the north. It's called the Three Seas Initiative. How significant is this in terms of global connectivity, trade and supply chain, and perhaps a country like India, which is an emerging country, can benefit from such partnership, an initiative of Poland on this?
The project that you mentioned is called Three Seas Initiative, and it's a regional initiative aimed at fostering integration in Central and Eastern Europe. So one of the aspects is to foster infrastructure, but also discuss jointly problems that we face, like security issues. And if you talk about infrastructure, north-south infrastructure in European Union, in this Three Seas initiative is a key. So from the northern part to the southern, where the southern tip of Three Seas would be Greece, and here you could see that there is some connection between Europe and India in terms of IMEC project that was announced here also during G20 presidency. So there is a potential that could be explored here and discussed, and see whether we could look and tap into this potential. And Poland, we will be next year, we will be chairing a summit, the Three Seas Summit, so it will be a key moment also during the Polish presidency in the European Union. And of course, India, as one of the biggest economies, looks very promising as a potential partner in this initiative.
And Ambassador, towards the end of the discussion, would like to also to focus on, as India believes in the rule of law and its democratic principles, and that also enshrined our foreign policy. One of the element is the Indo-Pacific element. A lot of European countries are gearing towards their Indo-Pacific strategy. They build up the strategy, putting India at the core of their whole policies. How Poland is looking at Indo-Pacific and building such architecture with India in terms of security, in terms of trade. Do you have certain policies on this?
Yes, before I talk about Indo-Pacific, if I may jump and talk a little about values and democratic principles, as actually there is one more connection between Poland and India on this. We just yesterday was celebrating the 75th anniversary of adoption Indian Constitution.
That's right.
And I'm not sure if you know that there is a connection to Poland with this, because Dr. Ambedkar, when he drafted the constitution, he lived in the building that is currently residence of Polish ambassador.
Oh, okay.
So the Tilak Mark I residence is actually a place that has a special connection to Dr. Ambedkar and the Indian Constitution also. But that's a curious fact that I wanted to share, an interesting fact that I wanted to share. But on the Pacific, of course, we see that world is, as I mentioned, the world is becoming more and more global and interconnected also. So what is happening in Central Eastern Europe is also linked to what is happening in Asia Pacific. Right. Even the recent decision of North Korean leader to send his troops to Ukraine, to the Russian, it's all interconnected. And we also noticed this, and just a couple of weeks ago we nominated our first special envoy for Indo-Pacific, and you'll be happy to learn that I think his first visit to Asia was a visit to India. He was here last week, participating in maritime conference, and also had some meetings in MEA. So we see that Indo-Pacific, if you look at the name, India is there already. Yes, and in fact, India is the only country that has an ocean named after it. So
you just have to put it in your strategic paper.
Exactly. Yes, but maybe from Delhi we'll not see that the importance of the sea and oceans that much, but from many places in India you will see that
we are already strategic partners.
Yes,
as both the prime ministers have already agreed upon that, and so
that's true. But so I also, in the framework of European Union, hopefully we'll be able to work on this. And
Ambassador, before closing the discussion, last but not the least, is very crucial about is a people-to-people connection, which you also highlighted, how the historical connection we had in the past. When Polish citizens were given refugees by the Indian Maharaja at the time of the crisis during the Second World War. It is also about extend to the education sector. Could you talk about briefly what is there for Indian student, bright Indian student to go and study in the Poland? What does it offer? And it's also about a people-to-people connection. It's a brand ambassador who go and study there. How significant is these collaborations could be?
Wow, it's so many questions for probably many of them for next interview. But to start with, 70 when Polish refugees came here, there was no direct flight. Now we have two direct connections between Poland and India. There is direct flight between Delhi and Warsaw, and Mumbai and Warsaw. So it also makes it easier for Indian and Polish people to visit each other. It's actually closer to Warsaw than it is to Masuri. If you want to visit hill stations in India, sometimes better to go to Warsaw, just 7 hours by flight. So students recognize it also, and this growing number of them going to Poland to study and pursue their education, as we offer courses in English. In fact, already Indian students are one of the biggest groups, probably the third or fourth or fifth biggest group of foreigners studying in Poland. Remarkable given the distance between our two countries. They become ambassadors. We already have a number of diaspora members, Indian diaspora members. They're Polish. They have Polish passport now. They're Polish nationals, and they bring and work on our relations, and then bring our countries together. So hopefully there'll be more of them. One of the changes that you will see in Warsaw now, if you visit it, there's a huge number of Indian restaurants. Indian food is becoming more and more popular, but it's also because there's more and more Indian diaspora people, representative and students. So Indians want to have good Indian khana. So you can have good
I
Indian
understand
khana.
Poland has a remarkable technological universities base.
Yes, of course. I mean, when they go to what are the most popular fields of study? This is engineering, medical studies, and social sciences. So these are the three main pillars when you look at the interests of Indian students wanting to pursue education in Poland. But I mean, on the other hand, I would also like to have more Polish students visiting India.
Fantastic.
Because in order to understand India, you need to come here. And if you are a student, we have interns visiting us, but not that many from Poland, but not that many people pursuing their education here in India. So hopefully we can also have more, and we are working with some of the universities on joint programs, so that we could have, we already have professors visiting India and Indian professors going to Poland, but let's have more students also.
So Polish government welcome Indian student to study the best of the technology, and they also forging a new ties, the future brand ambassador of our historical relation. Here with ambassador, acting ambassador of Poland, Sebastian. Domżalski on Sansad TV. I thank you so much, you sir. This is Manish Kumar Jha signing off on India-Poland relation today, tech, trade and security. Thank you for talking with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.